Mark from tinytowing. I'm picking up a designerecotinyhomes. So we've just dropped it on the board. This one is, what does it say here, 4.8. Very heavy at the front, you'll see it's hanging down. So we've got to make sure you do, if you're going to tow it yourself, is not forget to put the clip on. Make sure that's on properly. Good way of checking is checking underneath and make sure it's right down over the board. Might be a bit hard to see on the video, but have a look down there, make sure it's not going to pull off. And you've got this little breakaway system that basically is an override brake system or an emergency brake system, so that if it all goes pear-shaped and the tiny home gets disconnected from the tow vehicle, which is a Dodge Ram in this case, then the brakes will come on automatically and hopefully stop it. Not quickly, but will stop it. So you just clip that on, separate to where you attach everything else on the tiny home, separate to the safety chains, just in case the tow ball breaks off as well. You want it to be separate because it actually has to pull this out to activate the brakes. Then you got the two safety chains you got to put on. Tighten those up. This one is 3.5 ton, which is not that much really when you think about it. Like, cars are designed to take 3.5 ton, even like a Land Cruiser can take 3.5 ton. It's more the height that really causes a problem with towing, because you get all that weight up high, it causes a lot of sway, so you really need a heavy vehicle and very powerful to be able to pull it with the wind resistance and just to have that weight on the ground to keep the tiny home stable. So don't forget to take the handbrake off. This is a handbrake, it just works on a wire. If you forget to take that off, you'll start to smell if you stop. Thanks, Dave. I mean, Marty. Marty's just handing me a little bit of wire. Good idea, if you come around this side, you can see there's a little safety catch. If you put a little bit of wire in there, that'll just prevent it coming off. It should never come off because there's a spring, but this is a good thing, particularly for me. I can see in my reversing, I have a camera that points back onto the tiny home the whole time I'm towing, and I can just have a look at that and make sure that's still there. No one's tampered with it. It's just a good visual thing to check for safety. Now, then you've got the lights. This is not only the lights, this is also the brakes. So it controls the lights and the brakes from the car and transfers it into the tiny home. Because at the back it has its own lights and it has its own brakes that are activated electronically. So in my particular tow vehicle, it actually tells me that the brakes are all working and lights are all hooked up. That won't be in most vehicles, but I just put it through there. Again, I can see it through my reversing camera. Now, most people won't have this, but this is an extra feature that I have. I have airbags in the back of this, so I can adjust the ride to keep it nice and flat and stiff while towing the extra weight. So I just have a little mobile pump and I can pump it up to the PSI I want. So this is really just something that you sort of get the feel of from experience. Today, with the weight that I've got and the tiny home, I'm just going to run the airbags at 60 PSI. And that'll just pump up. And there's two to do, one on either side of the truck at the back. After that, I'll show you the airbag that I have on this tow hitch. If you look closely in down there, there's an airbag. See, it's stopped there at 60 PSI. There's an airbag in there, which I can adjust for the different weights of the different tiny homes. It not only tells me roughly the weight of the tiny home on the ball, it also tells me, it also cushions the tiny home when we're bumping along, because they're not a normal caravan, they're basically a little cabin. Every bit of extra cushioning you've got is good for the tiny home, but it's also good for traveling along the road for stability. It just takes the shock out of the car, it takes the shock out of the tiny, and just makes it more stable on the road. I think these are fantastic. just do the other airbag up, which is doing the other airbag up still on the truck. If you come around on this side, you'll be able to see this has a little valve here for pumping up the airbag. You can see that just like a normal bike tyre valve or a car tyre valve, and you can see the PSI going up on my pump. See, 20, 25, 28, 32. Now, if you look here as well, this actually gives me a guide on how much I need to pump it up. What I like to do is have about 5 to 10 mil clearance between this. See this rubber? This is like a rubber stopper. But what you want to do is pump it up. And every single tiny home will be a different ball weight depending on where they put the batteries, what air conditioning it has. You can see it going up there. See the gaps closing up. And it's almost about perfect there. I think I'll run it at 50 psi. I often, once I go a couple of kilometers down the road, I'll adjust that because it'll sort of settle in. So the most important thing is that you got the right tow ball. So this is a 3.5 ton tiny, so it has a 50 mil bore. I have the 70 mil and the 50 mil bore for towing, and also the couple of other attachments as well. But the bigger ones that go over 3.5 ton, then they have to have a 70 mil bore. So you need to make sure you've got the right tow ball. The most important is you really need the right truck. I mean, I wouldn't recommend towing a tiny home without anything other than this size truck, because it's got the exhaust brakes, it's got the airbags, and to set it all up to tow a tiny home is quite an expense. Plus, experience does help. So that looks pretty good. Good idea to check the air pressure in the tyres as well. While we've got this out, we might just have a quick check and see what PSI are in the tyres. That's 50, they're perfect. You can have a look around and they all look pretty even on this side, the two. So the bigger tiny homes, they have 3 axles, so 6 wheels. This one's just got the 2. Just have a look over it and make sure everything looks secure.
How are we going, Mark?
Yeah, well,
Done?
I think so.
All good to go?
I'll have another look over because you never look over it too many times to make sure it's right. I usually stop a couple of kilometres down the road and have another look over, just in case I forgot anything. I've also got that camera at the front so I'm just going to keep an eye on it all.
Safe travels.